Hello and welcome to this video. We will be doing an Azure video today, and it's fairly beginner friendly, so I hope you enjoy if you're just starting out your Azure pen testing journey. The lab that we're going to be doing today is called Abuse Azure Logic App Automation. So let's go ahead and start this lab up. All right, so it seems the entry point to this lab is an image. So let's go ahead and check out what this image is. All right, so this is obviously some kind of leak, and one of the employees must have posted this somewhere. And the basis of this red team engagement is to see how far you can get with this image. So let's go ahead and zoom into this. Now, right off the bat, we got a bunch of information about resources, which is huge. And yeah, you know, there's a debate between whether or not this is truly dangerous if there are some kind of firewalls in place and, you know, the internal resources are not accessible, then perhaps it's not as dangerous as it seems. Well, I mean, we can go ahead and map this to see if this is actually accessible, and thus this is a huge misconfiguration on their part. So let's go ahead and unmap this. One 172.191. $90.57. Okay, so it doesn't say that the host is up. So perhaps, as I said, there are some default configurations preventing us from accessing this virtual machine. Now, there is, however, a lot of other data. So as you can see here, the user did successfully sign in to using the AZ CLI. So this AZ CLI utilizes a special API token that enables the user to access both, you know, the management API as well as the Graph API. If you're not familiar with what I just said, stay tuned because I'm going to explain it. But all you need to know for now is that because the user here signed in, we're able to grab a plethora of information, including the credentials themselves. So look over here at the bottom. It literally says the user's username, but it's half cut. Now, if we go back to the lab, in the instructions, it says that the OSINT already found the post from Ryan Lin. So we have already, we know that the user who's posting this is named Ryan Lin. Now, if we take a closer look, here, what does this look like over here? This is clearly Ryan Lin with some kind of space or underscore or dot in the middle. And yeah, so this email, the continuation is going to be the company that we are targeting, which I believe is Mega Big Tech. Is that in the information here as well? Surely it's in here somewhere. Mega Big Tech is the company that you attack in these Azure labs, but I just want to make sure that it's in here so that this is... yeah. Mega Big Tech. So it tells you here, it tells you in the information itself that we are hacking Mega Big Tech. And if you did any previous lab, you'll know that we are in fact always attacking Mega Big Tech in these Azure labs, or at least most of the time. There's one or two labs where there's a different domain, but you'll see that in a future video. So anyways, let's go ahead and attack Mega Big Tech, shall we? Right, so Ryan Lin at megabigtech.com. Now, clearly what we need to do is the first thing is to ensure that we have the correct username for this user. From this, we are able to expand our reach. We're able to attack in multiple different ways, including, password spraying, phishing. We'll be able to get our hands on the format of the usernames, possibly even spray other users that we can find on LinkedIn, etc. But the first thing that we can get out of this image is a successful username. So let's go ahead and do that. We have Ryan Lin. We don't know if it's an underscore or period or what it is that they're using in order to create these formats for usernames. We do know that this is Mega Big Tech over here. And we can ensure that they are in fact using Entra by checking if this domain has a tenant ID. So if we go here to a new tab, tenant ID lookup, AAD internals. Here we are. Where is the page? Maybe we can look it up here. Yeah, so there you go. As you can see, this domain has a tenant ID, and we can confirm that it is using Intra. We can also utilize the CLI. I'm pretty sure we can use dig with this domain. And right off the bat, since MX has this Outlook domain, that means that we are in fact dealing with a target who is utilizing, M365 Entra. So with this information, this information is huge. We now have a scope of attacks that we can conduct on this user once we have the correct username. And so let's get back to that and go to the image here, Ryan.Lin or Lion_Lin at megabigtech.com. So how we're going to check if this username is legit is firstly, we're going to create a username enumeration file. This is just going to be a file with a list of usernames. So we're going to put Ryan.Lin in there. We're going to put Ryan_Lin. And what else could it be? I'm pretty sure if it was a dash, then we would actually know. We could actually see that dash, but I'll go ahead and place a dash in there. Not even sure if dashes are allowed. Let's go ahead and save that. And if I go to my playbook, By the way, if you want this Excel sheet, please comment below the video and tell me. I'm currently making a list of people who to send access to this Excel sheet. All right, so I have here in the validate email section a way to check for valid emails. Let's go ahead and use O365. Now, if you're not familiar with O365, I'll go ahead and open it up here for you to see. So what is O365? It's a username enumeration and password spreading tool. Now, this is specifically for Azure and O365. So let's go ahead and utilize it using this command over here. Check X users. Ooh, actually, we are going to use O365 Creeper. Sorry about that. You can use either or, but let me go ahead and show you that O365 Creeper is also on GitHub here. And like the previous tool, it's a simple Python script used to validate email accounts that belong to Office 365 tenants. So we're going to go ahead and use this tool. I'm going to copy this command. All right, seems pretty simple of a command. We just use the -F flag alongside the word list that we have included all the emails in, and then it checks whether which one of those emails are correct. All right, so we have, as you can see here, beside the valid indication that Ryan.Lin is an actual valid email. So at this point of the engagement, we can, start gathering information about the target, start gathering information about the company, enough to formulate a really realistic phishing email alongside some phishing infrastructure and try to grab his management or graph token through a phishing link or something or the other. However, if we go back to the previous evidence that we gained, in this image, we can actually see a portion of the command that he used to log in. So right here, this is clearly AZ login. And then this has to be the -U flag. So let me go ahead and get out my notes over here. Right here is AZ login. Over here is the -U flag. And then here is going to be, as you can see with the Y, Ryan Lin. It's going to be Ryan Lin at megabigtech.com. All the way up to here, megabigtech.com. Ryan Lin. So let's go ahead and megabigtech.com. And then the -P flag for the password. And then the password. So for the password, I know that you're probably like, bro, this is impossible. You can only see a glimpse of the letters. However, you can see quite a bit. Like, this is obviously a P, and this is obviously a Y. So let's try to make up what this is. Now, we saw in the Y previously that it's a part of his name, Ryan. Now, I don't know about you, but this also looks like an R over here. Now, we can adequately guess that this has to be Ryan. Look at it. The R has to be right here. Wait, let me go ahead and screenshot this so we can edit it. Look at this. Let me make this blue. And this could be a period or an exclamation point. But let's be real, who's using periods and passwords? So, how about this? Well, it could be just like here. It could be an A. Now, this is not a Y because this is Y. I mean, it can't be a capital Y. This has to be a P. And this could be an O, perhaps. And perhaps this could be an L or an R. Supper. If we make this a 5 or potentially an S. Vapor Ryan. Okay, so this could be an S or a 5. This could be an R or an L. So we have some variations. Now, to utilize our spraying capacity to its fullest, we can take all of these variations alongside our successful email that we found and conduct a fairly small spraying attack of maybe 5 to 10 passwords. Now, I've already prepared that password file for us. And if we take a look here, password.txt. You can see I prepared Super Ryan, Super Ryan with an exclamation part, Super Ryan with different cases and with a period or an exclamation point. So anyways, let's go ahead and utilize a different tool instead of O365 Creeper. Let's go into my spray section here. Spray one user with X amount of passwords. So let's go ahead and use this. Let me paste this and explain the command for you. I hope that you can see this all right. Okay, so basically, use a tool over here with the -- spray indicating a lowercase u because it's one single username and not a username file. Specifying Ryan Lynn, indicating through the uppercase P flag that we're using a password file instead of the lowercase p, which would indicate that we're using a single password. And then specifying the domain as Megabig Tech. Now, the -L is going to specify the lockout. Now, it's called lockout on this tool. However, what it means is the sleep duration of the spray. So after each spray, there's going to be a sleep duration, and the default is 15 minutes. So I went ahead and changed that because waiting 15 minutes per spray is going to be completely, crazy. So I put it to 0. So it's just going to go bam, 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 and find the correct credentials for us. So let me go ahead and run this. All right, valid credentials 1. So right here, with the green valid, Ryan Lin, and the password is Super Ryan with a capital R and an exclamation point. Great, let me go ahead and save these creds in my notes. All right, let's go ahead and log in, shall we? No subscriptions found for Ryan Lin. It says use allow no subscriptions. Well, we could do that, but I don't know what the point is if we don't have a subscription. However, let's go ahead and use that and see what we can do with that access. Okay, we are actually in. Now, this tenant ID is something we could have got without this access already. However, one thing that we can actually do with this access is since we signed in, then we have successfully used the AZ CLI's API. And what that means is that we can convert this access into tokens of our choice. So let's go ahead and grab the management token and the graph token, shall we? Go over to my cool little section here called Dragon. And we're going to use this command to grab the management token. All right. Ignore those. Those were from my previous attempt in this lab. So let's go ahead and save this to its own file. Just for organizational purposes, we're going to save it to nanoryan.management or ARM. And then let's get the graph token. Incredible. With these tokens, we can now utilize other forms of access. So what do I mean by that? Well, something that you're going to need to get used to is when you don't have access through one mechanism, then you must utilize your other forms of attaining access. Now, we have this AZ CLI, which we can use the AZ CLI commands through. However, there's also the PowerShell AZ CLI. Now, if I go into another tab here, and I have PowerShell on, but if you didn't, you simply use the PowerShell command in Pwned Cloud OS or any Debian, then you'll be able to access PowerShell, the latest version as well. If not, You can look up online how to install PowerShell on your Linux, or you can use it on a Windows VM as well. Using a Windows VM is going to provide you with a lot of benefits, since there are some tools that only work on Windows and some things you can only do on Windows, such as, if you're considering making malware and things like that. So in this PowerShell, let's go ahead and connect to the AZ PowerShell CLI. Using the tokens that we now have. So I just need to change this command a little bit, and then I'll explain it to you as well. Ryan graph. And here, Ryan arm. And here, we need to put his email. So in this command, we are connecting to the PowerShell AZ CLI. We're using his account ID, obviously, and we're going to be plugging in both of the tokens that we got from the AZ CLI, including the ARM token, as well as the graph token. So let's go ahead and try to connect. And we will see the unfortunate case where we don't have a subscription. Now, this is obviously going to prevent us from enumerating the management API. We don't have a subscription, which is something that is organizing the resources. Then there are no organized resources to enumerate. I know that seems fairly simple, but it can be tricky sometimes with all the different APIs. Now, although we don't have a subscription, please remember that the graph access does not actually require a subscription. So what do I mean by that? Well, there is a third crucial and staple mechanism for authenticating and enumerating, which is going to utilize the graph API solely, and that's mggraph. Let's go ahead and utilize this graph token that we have, Ryan.graph, to authenticate to mggraph. So I know these commands look very similar. However, they're kind of different. So this is using connect mggraph, and this is connect AZ account. Although they have a very similar schema, this is utilizing the PowerShell Azure library, whereas this is utilizing the mggraph library. So let's go ahead and run this. All we're going to be doing is specifying the access token using this bash command to cat the token from the file where the token is located. And we have to convert to secure string just to comply with the format that's required. All right, so let's see if this has successfully authenticated by trying to utilize our access. Let's go ahead and list all the users. So we're going to use get mg-all. And right away, we have confirmed that we can, in fact, utilize the Graph API to enumerate. So this is huge because now look at all of the new targets that we have alongside their emails, their IDs, This is huge for a red teaming engagement because it means that you can see the key users to target. You can use the Graph API to populate your Bloodhound graph and conduct huge amount of enumeration in order to utilize, certain key data that you extract and find throughout your enumeration, and possibly find, low-hanging fruits or any potential misconfigurations that they have externally. Now, manual enumeration is going to take a while, and this is going to prove to be a lengthy enumeration process. However, we have a extremely useful tool that enumerates the Graph API for us, and that's called GraphRunner. Now, GraphRunner is, let me actually go ahead and go to the GitHub. Look at those cool graphics. Okay, GraphRunner is a post-exploitation tool set. And my most favorite tool in this tool set is this GUI. Check it out. Now, what this GUI does is it says, hey, you got a Graph API token? Then put your Graph API token in here and start enumerating everything you want. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, it looks like it gets the information from the token as like a confirmation that it's a real token and a valid token. Now, as you can see in this specific field, app display name says Microsoft Azure CLI. Now, this is important because depending on the scope of the token, you will be allowed to enumerate different things. So as you can see here, there's a scope. And it says application read-write, app role assignment read-write. So we can read the applications, the AD applications. We can read the role assignments, which is great. Audit log, delegated permissions grant, directory access, the groups, profiles. So this is great. Let's go ahead and check if we can enumerate here. So as you can see here, we can get the users just like we did before. We can get the groups. Now, this would be interesting. Perhaps there's a dynamic group that we can enroll in or add a guest to, and to enroll the guest into and then get new access that way. Lateral movement. We can fetch the emails. Ooh, look what we have here. So error fetching emails can't access property for each. Data value is undefined. Now, what's crucial to read before this is the fact that this enumeration has required permissions. Mail read basic, mail read, or mail read write. And if we go back, you can see in the scope that these permissions are not present in the scope. Now, we could be missing crucial classified emails with information that is a goldmine for us in this engagement, all because we didn't put the correct scope to to read the emails. Now, luckily for us, GraphRunner uses the correct scopes when authenticating in order to utilize its graph token, graph token getting mechanic or function. So let's go ahead and use GraphRunner in order to get the token with the correct scope. Firstly, we're going to import it to our PowerShell. And then I'm going to use its get graph tokens command in order to authenticate. And the method that it's going to want us to authenticate is through device login. So all that means is we're going to go to device login and insert the code and then put in the credentials. Amazing. So it completed the device code login. And look at this beautiful scope that it used. Now, where is the emails? Files, read. Like, this is huge. Like, we're able to read the files if there are any files in the drives. Printer. The email scope permission should be here as well. Here it is. Mail.readWrite. And if you remember, it says right here that mail.readWrite is one of the permissions that we can use in order to read the email. So let's get the correct token. So the token is, if we use the tokens variable, which is created upon using this GraphRunner function, we can see that the token is in the access token field. Now, in order to get that field specifically without these spaces here, so we can properly copy paste this token wherever we want, then we have to do tokens.access token. All right, here's the correctly scoped token. Let's go ahead and put this in. Now, before I press parse token, I want you to take a look one more time. This says app display name, Microsoft Azure CLI, with these minimal scope. And after I press parse, as you can see, app display name, it utilized the Microsoft Office application with a huge scope. So you can always analyze the scope and analyze the contents of your token and your access through this mechanism. All right, now let's go ahead and see if we can enumerate the emails. Amazing. So we can actually enumerate and see Ryan's emails through this tool. And if we click on one of these emails, we have the entire email to read. Welcome to Mega Big Tech, blah, blah, blah. It looks like Ryan is actually a brand new entry, a brand new employee to this company. we have an internal automation system through Microsoft Teams. Details of this can be found here. Let's open that in a different tab, and we'll go to that in a second. If you need any assistance, feel free to reach out to Leanna Howie. Leanna Howie is the IDAM manager. All right. Interesting. Let's see the other email before we dig deeper into that link. Icon team member password reset guide. So if we have permissions to reset passwords, this could be huge, and it could be an easy way to move laterally. Let's go ahead and open this as well. All right, this is team member password, and this is also team member password. So we can close this stuff over here. It's the same exact document. All right, this is literally a way to reset passwords. This guide is designed for managers, so congratulations, Ryan, for getting this managerial position. However, unfortunately for him, he's failed the, security awareness training program, if there is any. Mega Big Tech to reset passwords. So basically, long story short, follow these instructions in order to reset passwords. Prerequisites: be a people manager. Incredible. We are a people manager. Be a member of the Pwned Labs Discord. Okay, as you can see here, I am a member of the Pwned Labs Discord. My name is Masood, and I'm a moderator. How to access Microsoft Teams. Open Microsoft Teams on your web application. Okay, I have just signed in to Microsoft Teams as Ryan. And if we go to back to this document to see what else we have to do, navigate to the team. On the left side, locate the Teams tab. From the list of teams, select User Managers. All right, I've selected that here. As you can see, I'm on User Managers. General in the User Managers. Password reset request. Okay, so once we're here, we just need to send a post with this format. At user manager with specifying the user's email that we want to reset, and then the Discord username that we want the reset to reach to. So obviously I'm going to specify my Discord username and then specify the user that we want to reset. For example, Keith Cole. All right, so right off the bat, I think that the target that we want is someone who's a manager, someone who has higher privileges, someone who we know has, authority over the application or automation that we're currently using. That would be a good target. How about Lena Howie? Lena Howie, it's time to go down. All right, let's do this. at user manager, Leanna Howie. Hey, let me see her name. Good thing we know the format of emails, Keith Cole with a period. So Leanna Howie is going to be Leanna.Howie if the format serves us right. Now, this is my universal username, but I'm going to do this one more time using the Discord server scoped username, just in case it uses that instead of this. So let me go ahead and send this. Test 0. So this is my name on the server itself. So if it's using that, then this is going to work. Leanna Howie. Let's check her Discord. Yeah, we got it. So Leanna Howie's password has been successfully completed. Please ignore these other times that I did this lab. Each time I do this lab, it's just more and more fun. So let's go ahead and copy this. Actually, let's copy this first. Actually, let's copy the whole thing. All right, access number 2. Incredible. Not only did we successfully sign in, but there was no error in regards to the subscription ID. So we have possibly gained access to a default subscription, which has resources. Let's go ahead and check. Beautiful. We got one resource, and that's this. Teams bot password reset. This is literally the automation that we were just using. And it looks like it's a workflow utilizing a Logic App. So let's go ahead and list this workflow. Using this command, Azure Logic workflow list. Okay, boom, we got a bunch of information regarding this workflow. We got addresses as well. Okay. When I mentioned, so this is a lot of information. Let's go ahead and put this all in a file and try to find critical information is. Okay, it's going to see if there are any passwords. Teamsbug password reset. Get secret Discord password. Okay. A bunch of functions for resetting the password, getting a randomized password. Actually, let's see if the flag is in here. Flags, public flags. Flag default value. Hey, why don't we see if this is the actual flag? Ooh, congratulations. Amazing. We have just completed the first Azure Lab of the series for Azure video guides. I know I also made the Azure Hound video guide before this. However, we are going to go on a huge Azure video guide streak. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I promise you and guarantee you that these Azure videos will actually be one of the most high quality videos that we're going to be making, just because I'm the most experienced with Azure. So I'll be able to explain things very well for you guys. And I hope that you like this. If you did, please comment below. If you want my notes, comment below. Say I want your notes. I'm going to be adding you to a list. And yeah, thank you very much. And I'll see you later.